Hey everyone, BioFan here, and holy f***ing guacamole was there a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda news recently. By the time I finally gathered up everything and was ready to do a news update, there would be a new trailer or something I'd have to analyze. The news floodgates have opened, so if anything comes out after I've put this together, you can expect it in the next news update for sure. Anyway, here we are. I'm going to go over absolutely everything from N7-Day, Game Informer coverage, the Game Awards gameplay footage, developer tweets, and beyond. Everything from November and December. So you'll want to get comfortable, settle in. You may even want to grab a snack. Okay, here we go. First off, if you were hoping to play Andromeda on the Nintendo Switch, it looks like it won't be happening. BioWare producer Michael Gamble confirmed the game would only be on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Mass Effect Andromeda will be using photogrammetry to create some of the visuals in the environments. One prime example of photogrammetry can be seen in the environments of Star Wars Battlefront. This technique incorporates real environmental visuals to make in-game environments look even more realistic and lifelike. Prior to N7-Day, BioWare released an Andromeda Initiative recruitment teaser. As confirmed by BioWare development manager Mary Renee Brisebois, the voice you hear in the video is Clancy Brown, who is the voice of your protagonist's father, Alec Ryder. Clancy Brown has voiced many animated characters in his career, notably Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob. Leading up to the events of N7-Day, there was a countdown of visuals released over Twitter. The most important, or juicy, I should say, contained this description. Docking bays are used to transport passengers and local ranged vessels to and from other nearby arcs and planets for safe landing. They are a critical element in discovering and ensuring a safe environment to colonize a golden world. As covered further later in this video, a golden world is a habitable location for colonization in the Helios cluster in the Andromeda galaxy. On N7-Day, we received a new story trailer and an orientation video for the Andromeda Initiative. Be sure to check out my in-depth analysis videos of those trailers, as there's quite a few hidden details you may not have noticed. The voice actors for Scott and Sarah Ryder were revealed by BioWare voiceover director Caroline Livingstone to be Frida Wolf and Tom Taylorson. Note that you can change the name of your protagonist, but I think it's safe to assume your twin sibling probably keeps their default name, though. Actress Jamie Clayton revealed over Twitter that she is the voice of Jeanne Garson in the orientation video. Clayton is known for her role in the Netflix series Sense8. Since Jeanne's name is unique, many folks were confused on the spelling. Thanks to BioWare creative director Mac Walters, here's your answer. The voice of villains and other characters will be announced soon, supposedly. The cover art for the game was also revealed on N7-Day. There is a deluxe edition as well as a super deluxe edition. Here is a full breakdown of what the different editions contain. The deluxe edition adds a casual Pathfinder outfit for Ryder, a scavenger armor, 4 Pathfinder elite weapons, a pet Pyjack, yes you heard that correctly, the digital soundtrack, and a multiplayer pack containing weapons and bonuses for the multiplayer. The Super Deluxe Edition adds even more bonuses for the multiplayer. So if you're debating between the Deluxe and Super Deluxe Editions, consider how much of the multiplayer you intend to play. If you spent many hours in Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, you may want to consider upgrading to the Super Deluxe. If you didn't spend much time in the multiplayer, it may be wise to stick with the Deluxe Edition. Pre-ordering will give you Deep Space Explorer armor, an exclusive skin for the Nomad, and another booster pack for the multiplayer. The Collector's Edition of Mass Effect Andromeda will contain a metal case to keep your game discs in, and a mini Nomad. The more expensive version of the Collector's Edition contains a remote controllable Nomad to play with. Note that the game is not included in the Collector's Edition. You can also purchase the different Nomad versions separately. More items may be added to the Collector's Edition as we approach launch. The regular edition is priced at $59.99. The Deluxe Edition is $69.99. The Super Deluxe Edition is $99.99. And the Collector's Edition sold separately is either $99.99 or $199.99, depending on which Nomad you would like. There was a bunch of information released on the Mass Effect website as well, including that the Andromeda Initiative was founded in 2176. For reference, that's the same year James Vega enlisted in the Alliance military. It's also revealed that the end goal of the Andromeda Initiative is to eventually create a route between the Milky Way and Andromeda. Though I'm not sure this is something we'll be seeing, at least not for a long while, as the Milky Way is dependent on certain choices that happen after we leave for Andromeda, one of which eliminates all the races we've come to know. The Andromeda Initiative was funded by powerful benefactors, and will embark in 2185. According to a Game Informer interview with Mac Walters, will be leaving after the end of Mass Effect 2, but before the beginning of Mass Effect 3, because, Reapers and stuff. There are 4 Pathfinders, one for each of the Ark races: Solarian, Asari, Turian, and Human. Our father, Alec Ryder, will be the Human Pathfinder, though the position will eventually be given to us. Considering this is a Bioware game, I'm guessing our dad probably won't be alive for long. Alec was one of the first humans to travel through a mass relay and eventually joined the ranks of the N7 program. A few planetary concept arts were included, showcasing an icy environment with little to no atmosphere, near a moon and a few other planets, a molten area with some kind of structure nearby and storms off in the distance, and a rocky planet with a bunch of Archie formations. I think that's probably the Tempest or an earlier concept of it flying around. There was also this image of Ryder, Liam, and the female squadmate who has now been confirmed by male Ryder's voice actor, Tom Taylorson, to be named Cora. Taylorson was the first to officially confirm the existence of Drac, who we've also just recently seen in the 5-minute-long gameplay trailer. More on that momentarily. Both Cora and Drac were mentioned in the original survey leak for Mass Effect Andromeda, which seems to be almost entirely accurate so far. All we know about Cora from the survey is that she is a biotic, capable of deploying a biotic shield that protects everyone in the bubble, while still allowing you and your squad to fire out of it. All that's mentioned about Drac is that his personal quest involves tracking down an outlaw faction that has stolen a Krogan colony ship. This bit will come up again later. Just a heads up. Drac's voice actor was also revealed over Twitter. Stanley Townsend is known for his various roles in Cars 2. Every single race in the game, including new and old, that has genders, will have both genders represented in the game. So this breaks down to there being male and female Krogan, male and female Solarians, male and female Turians, etc. This extends to new races as well. If they have genders, they will be represented in the game. These new screenshots were also let loose on N7 Day. This one here seems related to this blizzardy planet seen from the N7 Day trailer. The next one appears to be Ryder firing at several enemies that look like Ket, which were revealed in the Game Informer coverage to be these aliens in the N7 Day trailer. The next shows Ryder on a desert planet, Eladin, more on that later, near a rock formation with glowing blue energy, unless that's some kind of weird plant. The final of these images shows Ryder in a red deserty canyon area with various structures nearby, possibly the same planet as this one from the gameplay trailer, more on that later. Don't have any Xbox games to hold you over until Mass Effect Andromeda comes out? Well, guess what? The entire Mass Effect trilogy, along with all of the DLC, is now backwards compatible on your Xbox. Want to be a beta tester for the Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer? Good news! BioWare has just launched BioWare Beacon, and signups are now open to play the multiplayer prior to launch and provide feedback about the experience. Unfortunately, only Xbox One and PS4 players can participate at this time. You can holster your weapon manually, in case you were curious about that. Future advertising for the game will feature both Ryder siblings. They both will be shown about the same amount. While the whole situation is a bit vague, you'll be unlocking a helmet as you progress through the Andromeda Initiative orientation on the Mass Effect website. There appears to be more installments coming. Michael Gamble also confirmed that we'll be receiving more than just a helmet. I'm assuming a full Andromeda Initiative armor, and maybe more. These two characters in the N7 Day trailer were confirmed to not be either of the Ryder siblings. Our squad will not only contain Milky Way races, and at least one new alien race will be present on our team. There will be only one loyalty mission for each squad member, but it's not yet confirmed on how many squad members there will be. According to BioWare lead designer Ian Frazier, while your twin sibling isn't a squadmate, they will have their own role to play in the game. This time around, your male or female protagonist can have a romance with an alien of their same gender. Not sure if this extends past Asari-only lesbian alien romances, but at least now there will be gay male alien romance options as well. The Reapers share no relation to the Remnant and will not be a part of the game whatsoever. You can now order a Morden Solus plushie from Sanji. Aww, he even has a little seashell. He sings 4 songs and can be activated by touching his hand. That's just precious. In the Mass Effect trilogy, technology enabled the different alien races to communicate with ease. This may not immediately be so smooth with the races in Andromeda. The developers are still not commenting on whether or not Quarians will be in the game. Stay tuned here for any updates. There will be a lot of party banter between you and your squad mates out in the field. More is being added to the game daily. There will also be optional subtitles for the banter. Walters may have implied that this character from the N7-Day trailer may not be male. The narration during this part of the trailer has a male voice, but note that the trailer narration can often be from an entirely different part of the game than what's being shown with it, for dramatic effect and whatnot. As usual, you can play on the PC while using a controller if you have the proper adapters and whatnot. In terms of romances, you can pursue multiple relationships, but as you'd think, some characters may not like you two-timing them. Others may feel differently. Commander Shepard from the original trilogy was pretty famous around the Milky Way galaxy, so he or she may be featured in the lore. The main musical theme for Andromeda was revealed live at the video game musical Odyssey on December 9th. I assume it will be released somewhere online soon? Rumor has it that the composer is John Pisano, who is most known for composing for the Maze Runner films. Some native Andromeda species will be able to communicate with those outside the Helios cluster, but this doesn't go for all of them apparently. There is a limited edition deluxe version of the Mass Effect Andromeda art book available for pre-order from the BioWare store. The deluxe edition includes a datapad slipcase cover, blueprints of the Tempest and other vessels, and a code for a digital online version. EA has stated in their most recent investors conference that they're open to giving Andromeda an extension if it needs more development time. March 21st being shown here may easily be changed to not have an art book full of spoilers released prior to the game. Mac Walters tweeted out this in-game picture of a kitchen area. The image contains a can of baked beans, Blasto's cereal, which may or may not be related to the Blasto, and an Andromeda Initiative mug that I personally need in my life. Please make these, BioWare. Please. Please. The Nomad and Tempest were constructed with input from Daniel Simon, who notably designed the vehicles for Tron Legacy, Oblivion, and many more films. Different environmental conditions will have a visual impact on armor, the Nomad, and buildings. There are cutscenes outside of the main story quests. The Asari coming along with the Andromeda Initiative will have gone through cryostasis just like everyone else, regardless of their long lifespan. Still no news on PC specs for Mass Effect Andromeda, but BioWare General Manager Aaron Flynn thinks we may see them sometime after December. Yes, you can be sarcastic and snarky in dialogue. There are alternative lines recorded where characters can refer to your protagonist as their default name of Scott or Sarah, should you choose to forgo naming Ryder yourself. And now, we come to the big kahuna of the bunch, the Game Informer coverage. I spent hours combing through the December cover story. It was packed with details like a can of tuna. And there's been several additional shorter articles that have been released publicly as well. Now, disclaimer, I'm not legally allowed to show you any of the images that weren't released publicly, and I won't be doing so out of respect to Game Informer, as they're one of the very few other gaming news sources I respect. Anything visual within the cover story article that is released after I put out this video, I'll cover in the next news update. The cover story was well written, with significantly better accuracy in discussing details about the game than the majority of mainstream gaming articles, so I recommend reading it if you don't mind paying though. But anyway, here's everything we learned from the Game Informer cover story, articles, and other exclusives that hasn't been mentioned previously. The Nexus arrives earlier than the rest of the arcs, not sure how much earlier yet though. We're headed to the Helios cluster because we scanned around and discovered that there was an unusually large amount of golden worlds there. The Andromeda Initiative's goal is to explore these worlds and set up colonies if suitable. The Pathfinders each have special training and abilities. Your protagonist is a part of a scouting group supporting the human Pathfinder, your father. Ryder is relatively unknown and hasn't had any big adventures, but still knows how to handle him or herself in a fight and navigate diplomacy. Early in the game, the role of the Pathfinder gets passed down to you. BioWare wants to do more games in the Andromeda Galaxy, but Ryder may or may not be a continuing focus. They want the story of Mass Effect Andromeda to feel completed at the end of the game. Cover-based shooting is still present in the game, but it isn't the only way you'll be spending time in combat. The single-player enemy encounters will feel similar to the multiplayer enemy encounters. Your ability cooldowns affect each ability individually and are hotkeyed instead of the choice wheel. You can pause the game in combat, but it isn't encouraged as a part of strategy. Your character will now take cover as soon as you brush up against an object, but you can move around more easily than before. It's described as less sticky because there is high maneuverability. The jetpack is a part of combat as well. It replaces the combat role and allows you to shoot enemies while in air, while jumping, or during its hover function. You can also be used to access strategic combat positions. However, there is a limit to how much you can use it. I'm assuming this means it can run out of fuel or something. The environments were heavily influenced by the jetpack's functions and usability. In addition to this, Gamble added on Twitter that you can use the projectile-based abilities while hovering. Apparently, you yourself may also count as a projectile, as Biotic Charge is one of those abilities you can use while with the jetpack. The Cat will be the first new race you encounter in the Helios cluster. The race won't be entirely antagonistic though. The team wanted them to be foreboding and scary, but there's more to this race as a whole than we currently know. The folks at BioWare also want you to be able to empathize with them. You can order around Squadmates to assist you like before in the trilogy, but it won't be quite as hands-on this time. There are more character customization options than there were in the trilogy. You can customize your father and sibling, but not quite to the same degree as your protagonist. The class system has been totally revamped. You will no longer be locked into a class from the beginning. Instead, you have the freedom to choose from almost any skill tree, regardless of biotic, tech, etc. Once you progress far enough in a skill tree, however, you'll be dubbed Adept or Vanguard or something similar and gain access to special bonuses. The previous specialties will all be there to unlock with the addition of a new one, Explorer. Explorer is obtained by investing enough skills across all skill trees. You can frequently reallocate your skills, however, so if you want to change up your combat style, you can. In one mission, you can play as one class, and then play as an entirely different one in another mission, or mix it up and be totally unique. There is a story narrative reason for this constant means of ability reallocation. You also don't have to reallocate skills if you don't want to. Different romances will want different kinds of relationships. Your squadmates will fill more traditional roles with their abilities. Protagonist customization is much more in-depth than the original trilogy. There are armor slots for the head, chest, shoulders, legs, etc. You can change the silhouette of your look and have the casual clothes as you did before. Being from the Milky Way and departing during the time of the trilogy, there will be familiar weapons, vehicles, armor, etc. The Avenger Assault Rifle and Black Widow Sniper Rifle were confirmed to be in the game. Speaking of assault rifles, the new 7-inch Ryder figurine from McFarlane Toys, available for purchase this spring for $20, carries an Avenger AAX-5 assault rifle. There will be a variety of melee weapons, including swords and hammers. The human arc, Hyperion, arrives at its designated golden world, dubbed Habitat 7, to find that it is surrounded by an energy cloud and has an ever-changing atmosphere. The Hyperion will have trouble contacting the other arcs and Nexus in the beginning. Planet maps feature colonies, ruins, outposts, fights between factions, minerals, and other interesting features to investigate. You'll also be going underground to discover secrets. I assume this is where the remnant vaults are. Naturally, there will be entirely optional planets to explore. Your new land exploration vehicle, the Nomad, was designed to feel fun to drive. Developers from Need for Speed provided technology and feedback for the Nomad's construction. In addition to driving, it can also jump and boost. The Nomad doesn't have weapons, but is highly customizable. You can upgrade its abilities, such as speed, and change its appearance to some degree, such as color. There is a desert world called Eladin, though it's spelled more like Aladdin. Ironic, I know. It's an optional planet, so you aren't required to visit it for the plot to progress. Eladin is marked as a potential golden world, but its high heat and few water sources make it a difficult place to thrive. There's a quest on Eladin to locate a lost Krogan colony ship, which may likely be Drax's personal quest as mentioned in the survey leak from way back ages ago. Similar to the camps in Dragon Age Inquisition, you can establish forward stations, which serve as fast travel points and a place to change your loadout. Also like camps in Dragon Age Inquisition, setting them up will help you locate nearby points of interest. You can't survive out in the open heat of Eladin for long, and occasionally have to take cover and cool down. You may also encounter hazardous things such as acid pools or burning wreckage, which can damage your HP. The Nomad can take damage, but if it takes too much, it'll blow up. If the blast doesn't kill you itself, you're gonna have to continue on foot. Most planets have at least one enemy base on them. Eladin's is called Flophouse. They take time to take over, and you need to be prepared before you go in. I wonder if these are similar to the keeps you can take over in Dragon Age Inquisition. It's possible to tip off too many enemies and alarms will sound, alerting the whole base to your presence. There may also be different narrative elements tied to taking over bases. Something else dangerous to encounter on planets: super bosses. They may be far above your level when you first encounter them, so you'll have to come back later to take them out. And you'll need to be prepared. Probably similar to the dragons in Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm seeing a trend here. Important worlds contain remnant vaults. Their purpose and function are not mentioned, and they may be a mystery for part of the game, but they are crucial to your success in Andromeda. You can scan various things in your environment and give that data to the Andromeda Initiative. Send enough and the right kinds of data, and you'll unlock new technology. Scanning can also unlock crafting schematics, which Dragon Age Inquisition also had. Hopefully these similarities are more different than they sound so far, though I'm sure it'll be fun regardless. The crafting in Andromeda will allow you to create items inspired by tech not familiar from the Milky Way, in line with the races of the Andromeda Galaxy. Most quests and activities are isolated to one world, but there are some that are multiplanetary. The character I've been referring to as Dad Pants is called Liam, though I'll probably still call him Dad Pants, cause reasons. Liam came to Andromeda aboard the Hyperion and is a member of the Pathfinder team. On Earth, he served as a police officer, so he'll be filling a security role for the initiative. He's described as idealistic and enthusiastic. His personality adds lighthearted moments amongst an intense story. He's also supportive of Ryder and has a British accent. Mike Gamble says Liam has cool hair. We've not seen a complete full reveal of Liam's face yet, and the helmet and what we do see of him appears to give characters buzz cuts. From what we can see of his Squadmate icon, I think it looks like he has goggles and tall spiky hair, maybe like this. Though it appears as though we'll likely see his face and Cora's before launch, my friend and fellow YouTuber Ability Drain presented a great idea to me that I'm thinking may be totally spot on. She thought that the reason we've seen them everywhere, but haven't seen their faces yet, is because their faces are modeled after their voice actors, similar to Miranda in the original trilogy, and BioWare isn't ready to announce their voice actors just yet. PB came to Andromeda aboard the Nexus, and then went adventuring solo. She's more of a lone wolf, and is not too big on being a part of a team. She follows Ryder because he or she will lead her to things she's interested in. Those things mostly consist of Andromeda technology. She's nice with a bubbly personality, but typically isn't concerned with societal norms or social politeness. When you first meet PB, she tackles Ryder. PB, according to the developers, is her nickname, and it comes from her initials of PB. Her voice actor, Christine Lakin, was also announced over Twitter. Lakin is known for voicing Joyce Kinney on Family Guy and a variety of other acting roles. Lakin has described PB as quirky and snarky. The Tempest is smaller and faster than the Normandy and was designed as a scouting ship. It's smaller and more intimate on the inside as well, as it's meant to feel a bit confined. There are no loading screens, however, as you move around any part of the ship. Areas of the Tempest include the garage, where you can find the Nomad, the Pathfinder's quarters, the gallery, which is where you can reallocate your skill points, and the heart of operations, the bridge. At the bridge, you'll find the galaxy map, which will actually have a greater visual effect once you leave it than in the original trilogy. You can actually see the planet you're orbiting out the window. You'll also be more immersed in space travel visually as well, witnessing the journey from planet to planet. Once in orbit, you can send out probes to search for objects of interest. This can, in some circumstances, take the place of exploration according to the Game Informer coverage. The team at BioWare really wanted to create a transition from space to planet surface as seamless as possible, which will be apparent as you travel. Characters aboard the Tempest will have their own areas they spend their time in, as usual with many BioWare games. There will be romance options within your squad, crew, and what is described as light romances, which could be something similar to Diana Allers, aka Jessica Chobot. It's also revealed that there are more romances than ever before, but this may just be in reference to Mass Effect. Relationships in general will be more in depth than ever before. The twin you don't choose to play as will have some issues with their cryostasis pod, leaving them still in stasis for part of the story, which will then later render them unfit for combat. However, they will still play a significant role in the story. There are mandatory, as well as optional, moments to talk and spend time with them. Squadmate loyalty missions will be short and sweet compared to main quests, not affecting the ending, but will give for some good times and entertainment. With characters you don't romance, or can't romance, there will still be value and depth to that relationship. There will still be culmination to the relationship. The scene of shooting with Garrus on the Citadel is referenced for comparison. The multiplayer works very similar to Mass Effect 3's, but with the combat style of Andromeda's single-player. Less hunkering down for cover, more moving around, jetpack use, etc. There are now modifiers that can be added to matches to make the experience easier or harder in addition to difficulty levels. Probably similar to the combat arena in the Citadel DLC. Harder difficulty modifiers will result in greater rewards, whereas those that make it easier lower the reward. BioWare plans to put out special event modifiers as well. Completing these special events will give you mission funds, which you can use directly to purchase items, rather than the random result of a card pack style crate purchase. However, there's a limited number of items that can be purchased this way, and they change often. Mission funds have other uses, but we'll learn more about that down the line. The premise behind the multiplayer is that you and the other players are part of the Apex Force, a militia strike team from the Nexus defending the interests of the Andromeda Initiative. There will be benefits to the single-player campaign if you play multiplayer, but it will not affect the story nor the ending. In addition to regular XP, you'll also earn Prestige XP that will be dealt out to all multiplayer characters in a similar group. Once you have enough to level up, it will benefit all those characters as well. The bonuses are purely passive. With the removal of the Paragon Renegade system, dialogue wheel choices have been revamped. You can now have responses that fit with varying tones, such as heart, head, professional, and casual. No tone is always good or evil, and will connect with each other to feel natural if you want to vary up your choices. The dialogue system is more about building your personality than morality. There are still interrupts, however, called narrative actions, which allow you to interrupt conversations with various actions. Instead of a red or blue icon, you'll see an optional prompt on the screen, such as shoot, with a limited time to react. Andromeda will have a New Game Plus mode, which we'll learn more about later. They're leaving the ending of Andromeda as a surprise. However, keep in mind that they have taken feedback from both Mass Effect 3's ending, as well as Dragon Age Inquisitions. There is an Asari called Dr. Lexi on Hyperion, one of the few non-human staff members of the ship. She's probably this Asari from the very brief flash in the End 7-Day trailer. She's said to help out in the beginning of the game. There's more of a difference between which gender you choose to play as than there was in the original trilogy. More on this later. The pilot of the Tempest will be a Solarian, pretty likely this one from the EA Play trailer. Instead of selecting your destination through a galaxy map type of system, you'll stand on the bridge, look out the window at the stars, and select your destination through a system there. In the garage, you'll be able to see any customizations you make to the Nomad, and see it from above on some kind of walkway, supposedly. You'll have some level of customization over the decor in Ryder's quarters. The room will feel more lived in as the game progresses. There may be souvenirs or mementos in your quarters from important missions or story accomplishments. You will not have control over driving the Tempest. However, the team did have prototypes made up, so this may be something included in the future. Characters, both crew and squadmates, stick to a general vicinity of the ship, but won't be quite so planted in one spot doing one thing like in previous games. The Tempest crew will have fewer people than the Normandy crew, which makes sense being that the Tempest is a smaller vessel. The Game Informer folks who've seen the inside of the Tempest say that it has everything the Normandy did, but with even more added features. As you progress through the game, you'll find clues about what happened to the other arcs, such as Asari escape pods, which will eventually be tied together and resolved later in the story. According to Walters, about 90% of questlines will be contained on one planet, while 10% will involve more than one planet. Enemies of the same class will have different abilities per race, so if you're fighting against an enemy vanguard, it will have different abilities than a vanguard of a different race. The game won't feature all of the races from the Milky Way, but they may appear in future installments. Just because we don't see them doesn't mean they didn't come along with the Andromeda initiative. It was purposely left open to possibly allow for them to appear in the future. Your experience points won't be exclusive to just abilities. You can also spend them on upgrading the Nomad and your jetpack. Before you take the role of Pathfinder, your title will be Recon Specialist. On your first venture outside Hyperion, your father will want you to rub a certain rock for luck. There are about 20,000 humans still in cryostasis on Hyperion when Ryder wakes up at the beginning of the game. So maybe we wake up before most other people? No word on when those 20,000 will wake up, or if there are different waves of waking up or whatnot, or if it's connected to your siblings' cryostasis pod issues. Avina states in the recent Arcs and Nexus Andromeda Initiative briefing, more on that later, that there are 20,000 humans on Hyperion in general, so I'm not sure if this detail from Game Informer was entirely accurate. During some cutscenes, you will have a degree of control, such as steering a character who is falling or examining objects mid-conversation. You will acquire more people to join your Tempest crew workers as the game progresses. While serious in general, the tone of the game will be much lighter than Mass Effect 3 and will include more humorous moments. The characters are younger for the most part, so the tone will match that. After the final mission, you can continue to explore. There will be a new Game Plus mode as well. During one of the Game Informer video entries, this wall of in-game shots could be seen. The top right shows a character, probably Ryder, in a desert planet, probably Eladin. The bottom right shows what I think could be some kind of settlement, or outpost, or a multiplayer map even. The top of the middle row looks similar to this structure from the EA Play trailer to me. I'm thinking it's an outpost. The bottom left looks like it's underground or on an asteroid, somewhere dark and rocky at least. You can't get married in the game, or at least not traditionally. Andromeda's plot is based on a true story, not sure to what extent though. You won't be purchasing fish for your quarters. When asked if our saves from Andromeda would be carried forward, Mac Walters answered, to be determined. A character will sing at some point. The jetpack cannot be used inside the Tempest. Downloadable characters for Andromeda is also to be determined. There is one guy who didn't volunteer to go to Andromeda. Calling it now, he's either a villain or a squadmate. You don't have to refuel the Tempest. There are people like the Council who you will want to hang up on. Omnigel isn't in Andromeda. Neither your crew members nor companions will die in the game. Now, a lot of people have taken issue with this. I'm withholding judgment until I actually play the game, but keep in mind that for a story to be good, or feel tragic at times, death is not necessarily required. Horrible, life-shattering, destructive things can still happen to characters, just those specific ones won't die in the story. There is no bar area on the Tempest. You can stab people with holograms, supposedly. Walters thinks a co-op campaign could work in a Mass Effect game. Some planets are so large you'll probably need the Nomad to travel, whereas some are so small where it wouldn't really be much use. In the multiplayer, some enemies are designed to force your team to seek cover, while others are intended to flush you out of it. Staying in cover won't last long. You'll have to maneuver around the battlefield. Abilities in multiplayer will also have individual cooldowns as well. The jetpack will also be in multiplayer. The blind card packs from Mass Effect 3's multiplayer will continue in Andromeda's. These can be purchased with in-game currency earned in multiplayer, or with real-world currency if you so choose. In addition to this, you can buy certain items on a rotating basis using real-world currency. Funds you earn in multiplayer will somehow affect the single player. You'll be able to send teams to do specific kind of side quests, or you can choose to do these yourself in the multiplayer. You can pause the single-player campaign and go straight into the multiplayer from the pause menu options. This experience is entirely optional though, as the developers don't want players to feel obligated to play the multiplayer. But it sounds pretty damn cool if you ask me. According to BioWare producer Fernando Mello, you can expect a Mass Effect 3 level of multiplayer character customization in Andromeda's multiplayer. Now here's the images from the cover story article that I can talk to you about. Here we see Ryder using a flamethrower type attack in a rainy environment. Some have speculated that the blue glow indicates biotics, but it probably doesn't. Notice his Omni tool is currently on, so it's probably the Andromeda version of the Incinerate ability. Ryder also has a CB on his armor. Not sure what this means, but it may be significant since it's in the same location as the N7 and AI on other armors. The area resembles this clip from the EA Play trailer. Cora is in the background to the right, and there's another character in the center. It's difficult to make out any details, but they appear to have dark armor, thick legs, and a round upper body, which leads me to believe that this character could be Drac. There's also another character to the far left. Examining the character's leg shape, notice the bend. I think they're either Ket or Quarian. The Ket have a greater leg bend than the Quarians and are confirmed to be in the game, so I feel that's the more likely answer. Aside from those factors, he's the furthest away from the three characters, which makes me think he's not on the squad, since we're continuing the two squadmates in the field tradition. Therefore, he's probably an enemy, which leads me to further believe he's a Ket. The next picture shows the Nomad on Eladin approaching some kind of structure made inside a large towering rock. There are red cloth banner/awning things strung around the entrance, and a character off in the distance examining something on the ground. There's something large and mechanical to the left of this structure with a similar style as the Remnant Vaults. My guess as to what this rocky structure probably is: Flophouse. And in the last of these new shots that I can legally show you, Ryder is scanning the battlefield with aliens, presumably Ket, nearby. The location appears to be indoors, as there is piping and wires and tubes and whatnot. Moving on from most of the Game Informer coverage, an article from PlayStation UK also added a few further details. Our first mission will be going to Habitat 7. As I predicted in my trailer analysis, this scene in the End 7-Day trailer shows Ryder and Liam being blown out of the shuttle and falling down towards Habitat 7. There is a type of Ket or Ket character on Habitat 7 called Ket Chosen, which was shown in the gameplay trailer. More on that later too. The article summarized the opening in that we arrive in Andromeda, go out and fall down to Habitat 7, make way to a cave on foot with Liam avoiding Ket attacks, and then scan the area. Summarizing it probably doesn't quite do it justice, as they explain it was quite an enjoyable opening. The Nomad lasts longer in the heat of Eladin than Ryder, but it too needs to spend time cooling off in the shade. Otherwise, it may burst into flames. At the Game Awards, BioWare showed off 5 minutes of gorgeous gameplay in their new gameplay trailer. There's lots of little hidden details within the footage, so be sure to check out my extensively in-depth analysis of the things you probably didn't notice. Same goes for the second Andromeda Initiative trailer released the next day, which further details on the Nexus and Arcs. Some interesting things of note from the new briefing external bits of info include: the Arks are some of the largest ships in the galaxy, all the cryostasis pods in this picture have the same exact number, C157, on them. I'm not sure if this is on purpose or an oversight. Foster Addison is the head of colonial affairs and oversees concerns pertaining to colonies and settlements. Knockmore Kesh, a female Krogan, serves as the Nexus superintendent. Note that her first name is Kesh and her clan name is Knockmore, similar to Urdnot Grunt and Urdnot Rex in the original trilogy. A shaman from Clan Knockmore was encountered in Mass Effect 2 on the Krogan homeworld of Tuchanka. Sloane Kelly, the outlaw leader featured in the gameplay trailer, used to be the head of Nexus Security. She was an Alliance soldier prior to joining the Initiative. The cryostasis pods will use Mass Effect Field technology. Parcero, the Ark for either the Solarians, Turians, or Asari, was shown. I tried looking up Parcero mentionings in mythology, as many names in the game seem to have mythological origins, but got little results. However, I'm not sure if this relates to it all, but Parcero, spelled the exact same way as it is here, is a Colombian slang word that translates to English as bro, dude, mate, buddy, etc. The Odyssey drive cores, which power the Arks, use their own renewable static energy harvesting system, as well as converting external hydrogen outside of the ship into additional energy. Be sure to check out my Hidden Gems analysis videos for a more in-depth look into visuals shown. The Mass Effect website lists Kadara, the main planet for the gameplay trailer, as a planet with a lot of raiders, outlaws, and faction fighting. Drac, along with Vetra, the female Turian, were confirmed. The hammer featured in the trailer was, in fact, a Krogan hammer. Avena's original voice actress, Dana Fineglass, will be reprising her role in Andromeda. Alec Ryder has officially been confirmed to not be an antagonist in the game. Melee weapon attacks can be upgraded. Many have voiced concern about facial animation in the recent gameplay trailer. BioWare has been vocal about the fact that they're still polishing it, and this time around they're using facial capture technology to make the animations look more realistic. IGN falsely reported, and ironically contradicted a previous article of theirs by doing so, that romance options in the game would be player sexual. Each romance has their own sexuality, and there will be options for both same-sex and opposite-sex relationships. There are also most definitely bisexual characters. Just thought I'd clarify this for those that read the article prior to its revision. The article did reveal one new thing of note, and in a quote from a developer, so this specifically is trustworthy. Walters explained that his favorite romance option in the game is not a squadmate nor a crew member. They are someone you'll meet on one of the planets. In another IGN article, Walters officially confirmed that BioWare indeed intends to continue the franchise after Mass Effect Andromeda, stating, "There's definitely a plan to continue Andromeda. We just didn't plan this to be a trilogy, a 3-part story over 3 games. Specifically, we have built in some of the key and big mysteries in Andromeda that you will discover are not resolved in Andromeda in this game. We are already planning how we're going to reveal those and how we're going to deal with them in future installments." On the Nomad, you can initiate both forward and upward boosts. There is a biotic shielding ability called Aegis. An Aegis is a type of shield. The word originates from Greek mythology. Cryo ammo is making a return to the franchise alongside incendiary and disruptor ammo modifiers. You can customize the color of your armor. Ark Hyperion may have had some issues prior to arriving to Andromeda. We know the environment of Habitat 7 causes some issues with communication, but there may be some complications in dark space? Interesting. The icons being used to represent the Squadmates aren't totally locked down, but are the current plan. Fraser also insinuated that BioWare Austin writer, Courtney Woods, is writing Reyes, the character who can be heard talking to Ryder over the comm in the gameplay trailer. Woods is known for writing on Star Wars The Old Republic and much of the Descent DLC for Dragon Age Inquisition. The Titan Books Mass Effect Andromeda book listings have been more formally announced, or at least to the point where the authors were able to say that they were, in fact, writing the books. Just to review, Nexus Uprising by Jason M. Huff and Casey Alexander will be released on March 28th. Mass Effect Annihilation by Catherine Valente will be released summer 2017, and Mass Effect Initiation by N.K. Jemisin will be released in the fall of 2017. All of the books in paperback are currently set at $8 or £8. Note that the cover for Nexus Uprising is not yet final, which I'm personally glad about because some of the visuals aren't that great quality and come from already publicly released visuals. Just saying. In an interview with GameSpot, Mac Walters explained that some enemies have finishing moves called sync attacks. Some can be fatal, but can possibly be avoided or dodged. He also explained that the Ryder family is a part of the Andromeda galaxy now. They wouldn't be excluded completely from future installments. This translates to them being in the lore or mentioned briefly at least. And finally, he added that the BioWare team is very confident that they will ship in spring. Just so you know, spring runs from March 20th to June 20th. The first Tuesday, the day of the week games usually release, is March 21st, and the last is June 20th. According to Fraser, Andromeda's difficulty will be about halfway between Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. There are no plans to release a demo of the character creator prior to the game's release. In an interview with Eurogamer, Fabrice Condominis and Mac Walters revealed a bunch of additional information. There is criteria you have to meet before you can build settlements. Sam, who we hear communicate with Ryder in the gameplay trailer, is indeed an AI. He's connected to your vessels and is with you personally at all times. He also knew your father, Alec Ryder, as well, which makes me think Sam was issued to Pathfinders, or at least the human Pathfinder, and transferred down along with your rank after whatever happened to your father. Sam will be more of a partner than EDI was, and you will have a closer relationship emotionally. The team is still working on facial animations, and those are one of the things that comes toward the end of final stages of polishing. For the first time in a BioWare game, the team is using full facial capture for all the humans to create a more realistic experience in the game. Mac Walters was previously set to write the fourth Mass Effect Andromeda book that would be published with Titan Books. He revealed that this book was set to bridge to a Mass Effect movie. The movie is still in discussion, and the book hasn't been cancelled yet, and may likely be produced down the line. The focus for now is on Andromeda, and the first 3 books. There was a squadmate that was cut from the game because there wasn't enough time to implement their personal questline. It is certainly possible that character could turn up in some form in the future though. There is a lot more effort and content put into the crew members of the Tempest than those of the Normandy. In a more recent follow-up Game Informer interview with Mac Walters, fan questions were asked and some more insight into the game was given. BioWare looked at The Witcher 3 to take inspiration on how to handle an open-world environment balanced with story content and side quests intertwined with the main story content. There are sections of planetary environments that are obviously nomad-oriented that you probably won't be walking around so much and taking your vehicle instead. The devs have worked to create a plot in such a way that there's urgency towards completing the plot, but it doesn't feel weird to go off and explore for a while if you'd like. The high-stakes urgency will still feel important, but it won't feel like it's breathing down your neck at all times when you go off and do something else. PB is not a typical Asari, and does not act like a typical Asari. For new players to Mass Effect, they wanted PB to teach about what the Asari were like, through being so different from the norm. I'm thinking this may be a similar narrative tactic to how in Dragon Age, Dorian was a pariah of Tevinter, who was very different from the norm, which then in turn taught players about what the norm of Tevinter was. Walters insinuated that Vetra and PB have an interesting dynamic. The vibe was given that they may be hostile toward each other, but we'll have to play the game to know for sure. Krogan infertility and the genophage will be addressed in the game. The Nexus was designed to be suited for all races, whereas the Arcs are more specifically designed for the race in charge of it. Cryostasis requirements are different for different species. Arcs may have more than one species aboard, but those who aren't the main race of the Arc make up a very small proportion. There are no day-night cycles for the planets, but some of them have states that can change. One of which is probably whatever is up with Kadar's atmosphere in the gameplay trailer. Based on your decisions in the game, both narrative and gameplay, you'll have different people who can come and aid you in the final conflict. Codex entries will evolve as you discover more in the game. The full soundtrack is not yet complete. When asked, Walters said that Shepard would win in a dance-off against Ryder. The team is mostly focused on further polishing now. While your squadmates and crew can't die in the game, there are still horrible, awful things that can happen in the story that relate to them. Scott Ryder's face model has been revealed to be Stephen Brewis. Just a disclaimer before you go googling for more pictures of him, Most of them are not safe for work. Walters confirmed over Twitter that other customizable characters, being Sarah and Alec Ryder, are also based off of scans from face models. The two protagonist options will have some degree of variance in their dialogue to represent them as different individuals, but you'll still have significant control over the personality of your protagonist. And finally, the winners of the Explorers Wanted contest have been revealed to be Kyle Land and Carrie Schultens. Well folks, that's all the news for this round. Be sure to catch my other news updates for all the Mass Effect Andromeda info there is. Out of all this new info, what were you most excited to hear about? What are you wanting to know more about before the game is released? And also, what are you not wanting to know about before the game is released? Tell me all about it down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And while you're down there, be sure to attack that like button and share this video with your friends, family, random strangers, it's all good. For more Mass Effect Andromeda and BioWare related videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking the big red subscribe bar up at the top of the screen. For instant news coverage of BioWare games, feel free to follow me on Twitter and other forms of social media. Links to which can be found down in the video description. If you like my videos and would like to help support my channel and improve its quality, head on over to my Patreon page to donate. For more information about my Patreon page and the donation process, there's a video here on the screen with all of that as well.